I stood in my childhood living room on Christmas morning, holding a ceramic piggy bank with a $1 bill inside, while my 24-year-old sister squealed about the heated seats in her brand-new Honda CR-V. My mother smiled at me and said, "That's our contribution to your future home, Callie." The family laughed like it was heartwarming. My parents had just handed Amber the keys with a giant red bow on the windshield outside. I was 28 years old, wearing a sweater I bought myself, staring at this infantilizing gift while everyone acted like this was normal. That was the moment I decided I was done. I set the piggy bank down on the coffee table, my hands trembling slightly. Not from cold, but from the weight of every unequal moment in my life suddenly pressing down on my chest at once. This wasn't new. This was the culmination of 28 years of being the responsible one, the easy child, the one who supposedly didn't need anything because I was so independent. I watched Amber twirl the key fob, her blonde hair catching the light from the Christmas tree. She was talking about taking road trips, about how the car had a backup camera and Bluetooth and all these features she dreamed about. My father stood beside her, arm around her shoulders, beaming with pride. My mother was already pulling out her phone to take pictures. Nobody was looking at me. I picked up the piggy bank again. It was the same one I'd had as a child. I recognized the chip on the ear where I'd dropped it when I was 7. They'd kept it all these years, stored it away, and then given it back to me as a Christmas gift with $1 inside. My mind drifted back through the years, each memory sharp and painful. When I was 12 and wanted to take art classes, my mother said, "You're so independent, sweetie. You don't need structured activities like your sister does." Amber got dance classes, piano lessons, and cheerleading uniforms. I got library cards and hand-me-down supplies. When it was time for college, I sat at the kitchen table with my parents, my acceptance letters spread out in front of me. I'd worked so hard. Straight A's through high school, volunteering, leadership clubs. I'd gotten into the state university with a partial scholarship. My father barely looked at the letters. "Community college is more practical for you, Callie. You're good with money. You'll understand this makes sense." 2 years later, when Amber graduated high school with a C average, my parents threw her a huge party. The next fall, they moved her into a private university 3 hours away. Dorm room, meal plan, full tuition. When I asked how they could suddenly afford it, my mother said, "Things are different now. We've been saving." I worked 3 jobs through community college. Morning shift at a coffee shop, afternoon tutoring at the library, weekend nights waitressing. I transferred to State University for my final 2 years, lived in the cheapest apartment I could find with 4 roommates, survived on ramen and peanut butter. I graduated with honors in accounting and $23,000 in student loans. Amber dropped out junior year to find herself. My parents supported her through 2 full years of unemployment while she tried yoga instructor certification, then photography, then life coaching. None of it stuck. I paid off my loans by the time I was 26. Every extra dollar went to those payments. I drove a 15-year-old sedan. I cut my own hair. I brought lunch to work in Tupperware containers. "Callie?" My mother's voice snapped me back to the present. "Aren't you going to thank us for your gift?" I looked at her. Really looked at her. She was wearing the cashmere sweater I'd bought her for her birthday last month. $200 I'd saved carefully. "Thank you," I said quietly. Amber was already out the door, my father following with the car manual, both of them chattering about insurance and maintenance schedules. My mother started collecting wrapping paper from the floor. I'd been living in my childhood bedroom for 3 years. When I turned 25 and had finally paid off half my student loans, excited to start saving for my own place, my parents sat me down for a talk. "You're an adult now," my father said. "It's time you learned financial responsibility. We're going to start charging you rent, $800 a month, for a 10 by 12 bedroom in the suburbs, an hour commute from my job in the city." I'd looked at apartments, but everything comparable was at least $1,200, and I was still drowning in loan payments at the time. So I stayed, telling myself it was temporary. Amber had never paid $1 in rent, not 1 month. She had the master bedroom with the attached bathroom. I had to share the hallway bathroom with everyone. The piggy bank felt heavy in my hands. I turned it over. Someone had written on the bottom in Sharpie, "For Callie's future." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out, expecting maybe a Merry Christmas text from a friend. It was from my mother, even though she was standing 15 feet away from me. "Don't forget to pay the utility bills before the end of the month. Your share is $375. Amber's studying for her real estate license, so we're covering hers this month." I read it twice, then 3 times. My share, $375. For utilities in a house I paid $800 monthly rent to live in. A house where I occupied the smallest bedroom. Amber's share covered, again, because she was studying for the 4th career path in 2 years. I'd been paying utilities for 18 months. Split 3 ways, my parents said, since I was an adult living here. Except when I did the math in my head right then, I realized the bills had never been split 3 ways. They'd been split 2 ways. Me and my parents. Amber never paid anything. I looked up at my mother. She was stuffing wrapping paper into a trash bag, humming along to the Christmas music playing from the speaker. "Mom," I said, "how much has Amber paid in utilities since she moved back home?" My mother didn't look up. "Oh, honey, you know your sister. She's been going through a hard time. We didn't want to add pressure." "How much?" "Callie, it's Christmas. Don't start." I pulled up my banking app, started scrolling through 3 years of payments. Rent, $800 every single month, without fail. I'd never been late once. Utilities ranging from $250 to $400, depending on the season. Groceries, because somewhere along the way I'd started buying most of the household food. Gas money I'd given my father when he drove me to the mechanic after my car broke down. The Wi-Fi bill I'd been covering for 8 months, $28,400 in rent alone over 3 years. Thousands more in utilities and groceries and incidentals. I'd paid my parents over $30,000 to live in my childhood bedroom while my sister lived for free, and they'd just given her a car that cost at least $25,000 while handing me a piggy bank with a single dollar. My mother's words echoed, "That's our contribution to your future home. $1 for $30,000 in rent." I got $1 toward my future. I stood up. The piggy bank was still in my hand. I walked very calmly to the stairs and went up to my bedroom, closing the door behind me. Then I started packing. My bedroom looked like it belonged to a teenager, not a 28-year-old senior accountant. The walls were still painted the lavender color I'd chosen when I was 14. My old debate team trophies collected dust on a shelf above my cramped desk. I tried to make it work, tried to make it feel adult, but there was only so much you could do with a child-sized space and furniture I'd had since high school. I pulled my 2 suitcases out from under the bed and started folding clothes methodically. Work blouses, slacks, the 3 dresses I owned, jeans and sweaters. Everything I owned fit into 2 suitcases and 3 boxes, because I'd learned a long time ago not to accumulate things when you didn't have space or money. I was sliding my laptop into my work bag when my mother appeared in the doorway. "What are you doing?" I didn't stop packing. "Leaving." "Leaving? Callie, don't be dramatic. It's Christmas." I folded another sweater, placed it in the suitcase. "I'm not being dramatic. I'm being financially responsible. You taught me that, remember?" My mother stepped into the room, her expression shifting from confusion to concern. "This is about the gift, isn't it? Honey, we thought you'd appreciate something sentimental. The piggy bank from your childhood. It's meaningful, with $1 inside. It's symbolic. A start to your savings for a house." I finally looked at her. "Mom, I've given you $28,400 in rent over 3 years, plus thousands in utilities and groceries. That's more than enough for a down payment on a house. I already saved it. I gave it to you." She blinked. "That was rent. That's different. You were living here. Amber's been living here for free. Your sister needed support. I needed support." My voice cracked slightly, and I hated that it did. I needed support when I was working 3 jobs to get through college. I needed support when I was paying off loans by myself. I needed support every single day I've been an adult. And I got told I was independent and capable and that I didn't need help. My mother's face hardened. We gave you independence. That's worth more than money. Your sister is sensitive. She needs more support because she doesn't have your strength. You gave me neglect and called it independence. Callie Marie, that is not fair. I zipped the suitcase. Started on the second one. You want to know what's not fair? I'm about to tell you. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes app, where I'd been tracking expenses for years out of professional habit. $28,400 in rent, $6,700 in utilities, roughly $4,000 in groceries for the household, $300 in gas money. The Wi-Fi bill, which I've paid for 8 months, comes to $384. That's $39,884 I've given you in 3 years. My mother's mouth opened, but I kept going. Amber's college tuition at a private university for the 2 years before she dropped out was approximately $70,000. You paid all of it. My tuition, which I paid myself, was $42,000 total. You contributed $0. We couldn't afford it then, but you could afford it 4 years later? Mom, I work in accounting. That doesn't make sense financially unless something changed in your income, and Dad's had the same job for 20 years. My father appeared behind my mother, his face already red with anger. What's going on? Why are you upsetting your mother on Christmas? I'm leaving. Like hell you are. Not until you explain why you're acting like an ungrateful brat. The word hit me like a slap, but I kept my voice steady. I've paid you nearly $40,000 to live in this house. Amber's paid nothing. You gave her a $25,000 car today. You gave me a piggy bank with $1. And then you texted me, asking me to pay $375 in utilities while covering Amber's share. I'm not ungrateful. I'm done being treated like an ATM while she gets treated like a princess. You lived under our roof, my father shouted. We fed you. We gave you a place to stay. You charged me for it. You charged me rent that I paid every month, and I still bought groceries, and I still paid utilities, and I never asked you for a single thing in return except basic respect. Amber appeared now too, her eyes already welling with tears. Why are you ruining Christmas? I finally got something nice and you can't even be happy for me? I looked at my baby sister, who I'd once loved so much it hurt, who I'd tutored through algebra even though I was exhausted from my own double shifts, who I'd given my favorite stuffed animal when she was scared of thunderstorms. I'm happy you got a car, Amber. I'm not happy that our parents think my worth is measured by a dollar bill, while yours is measured by heated leather seats. You're just jealous. Amber's tears spilled over. You've always been jealous of me. No, I said quietly. I've been carrying this family financially while you've been carried by it. There's a difference. I pulled the final box from my closet, the one where I kept important documents. My birth certificate, social security card, tax returns, college transcripts. As I lifted it, several papers fluttered out, falling onto the floor. I knelt to pick them up and froze. They were bank statements, old ones, from an account I didn't recognize. I flipped through them, my accounting brain automatically processing the information. Then I saw my name, Callie Thompson Trust Fund. My grandmother's name was on the documents. She'd died during my freshman year of college. I remembered going to the funeral, remembered my mother crying, remembered feeling sad and lost. I'd never known she'd left me anything. The statements showed an initial deposit of $25,000, placed in trust for my education. The trustee names listed, my father and mother. Withdrawals started 6 months after her death, $2,000, $5,000, $3,000. By the time I was a sophomore, the account was empty, $25,000, gone. My hands started shaking as I read the dates. The withdrawals happened during Amber's freshman year at private university. They'd taken my inheritance, my grandmother's gift specifically for my education. They'd taken it and spent it without ever telling me it existed. I stood up slowly, the statements in my hand. What is this? My mother glanced at the papers and went pale. Callie, let me explain. What is this? My father grabbed for the statements, but I pulled them back. Those are private financial documents. These are trust documents with my name on them. From Grandma. $25,000 she left me for college. My voice was shaking now. When were you going to tell me? Silence. When were you going to tell me? It was family money, my mother finally said. Your grandmother left it to help with education expenses. We used it for education. Amber's education. It has my name on it. It says, Callie Thompson Trust Fund. It was my inheritance. You were already in community college, my father said defensively. You had financial aid. Your sister needed it more. I felt like the floor was dropping out from under me. I was in community college because you told me you couldn't afford to send me anywhere else. I worked 3 jobs. I lived on nothing. I graduated with $23,000 in debt that took me years to pay off. And the whole time, there was $25,000 with my name on it that you stole. We didn't steal it. We were the trustees. We made a decision for the family. You stole from me. I could barely breathe. You stole my inheritance and gave it to her. And then you watched me struggle, and you said nothing. Amber was crying harder now. I didn't know. Callie, I swear I didn't know. I believed her. This wasn't Amber's fault. She was as much a product of their choices as I was. But I couldn't stay in this house another second. I grabbed my suitcases, tucked the trust documents into my bag, and pushed past all of them. Down the stairs, through the living room where the Christmas tree lights blinked cheerfully, out the front door, into the cold December night. My car was parked on the street, old and reliable. I loaded everything into the trunk and back seat. My mother followed me out, calling my name, but I didn't stop. I got in the driver's seat, started the engine, and pulled away from the house I'd grown up in. In my rearview mirror, I saw them standing on the front lawn. My father with his arms crossed, my mother with her hand over her mouth, Amber hugging herself in the cold. I turned the corner, and they disappeared from view. I drove for 20 minutes before I had to pull over because I was crying too hard to see the road. I sat in a grocery store parking lot, empty on Christmas night, and let myself fall apart. Then I pulled out my phone and blocked all 3 of their numbers. 2 weeks later, I was sleeping on my coworker Jenny's couch in her 1-bedroom apartment in the city. She'd answered her phone on the second ring when I called from that parking lot on Christmas night, and she'd said, "Come here right now," without asking any questions. Jenny was the kind of friend who kept extra toothbrushes and made strong coffee and didn't hover. She gave me space to cry and process, then handed me a blanket and said I could stay as long as I needed. I'd been working extra hours at the firm, throwing myself into tax season preparation. Numbers made sense. Balance sheets had rules. If something didn't add up, you could find the error and fix it. I wished life worked the same way. My family had left 23 voicemails in those 2 weeks. I hadn't listened to a single one. Every time my phone showed a number I didn't recognize, my stomach clenched, worried they'd found another way to reach me. Jenny noticed. Over breakfast one morning, she slid a business card across the table. My cousin's a lawyer, Patricia Hoffman. She specializes in estate law and family trusts. I can't afford a lawyer. She does free consultations. Just talk to her. So I did. 3 days later, I sat in Patricia Hoffman's downtown office, a bright space with plants on every surface, and diplomas from Georgetown Law on the walls. She was probably 50, with sharp eyes and a kind smile. I spread the trust documents on her desk, along with my timeline of events. She read everything carefully, making notes, asking questions. Finally, she looked up. "Callie, this is pretty clear-cut. Your grandmother established a trust specifically for your educational expenses. Your parents were named as trustees, which means they had a fiduciary duty to use that money only for its intended purpose. Using it for your sister's education instead was a breach of that duty. Can I do anything about it? You can sue them for the amount of the trust plus interest. Given how long ago this happened, we're looking at roughly $35,000 with compound interest. She leaned back in her chair. But I have to be honest with you. Litigation takes time, often years. It's expensive. And it will permanently damage your relationship with your family. I don't have a relationship with them anymore. You might want one someday. People change. Families heal. I need you to understand that if we move forward, there's no going back from this. I thought about it for a long moment. The office was quiet, except for the hum of traffic outside. What they did was wrong, I finally said. Legally wrong. They watched me struggle when there was money meant for me. They lied. And even now, they're not apologizing. They're justifying it. Patricia nodded slowly. Then we document everything. Every rent payment, every utility bill, the trust statements, all of it. We build an airtight case. But Callie, you need to prepare yourself. This will get ugly. I left her office with homework. Gather every financial record from the past 3 years. Document every conversation I could remember. Write a detailed timeline. The paralegal would handle filing requests for discovery. That afternoon, I had my first appointment with Dr. Susan Walsh, a therapist Jenny had recommended. Her office was smaller, cozier, with soft lighting and comfortable chairs. "Tell me what brings you here," Dr. Walsh said. And for the first time, I told the whole story from beginning to end. The unequal childhoods, the stolen trust fund, the piggy bank, all of it. Dr. Walsh listened without interrupting, her expression neutral but attentive. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said something that cracked something open inside me. "Callie, what you're describing is called scapegoat and golden child dynamics. It's a form of emotional abuse that happens in families with narcissistic patterns. You were assigned the role of the responsible one, the one who didn't need anything, so your needs could be ignored while your sister received disproportionate attention and resources. This wasn't your fault, and it wasn't because you were less lovable. It was about their dysfunction. Something about hearing it named, hearing it classified as a real thing with patterns that other people experienced, made me feel less alone. At work, my boss Martin Chen noticed I'd been staying late every night. He called me into his office on a Friday afternoon. "You're doing excellent work, Callie. Your audit on the Morrison account was flawless. But you look exhausted." I tried to smile, just staying busy. "I heard from Jenny you're going through some family stuff. None of my business, but I wanted you to know we have an employee assistance program if you need it. Counseling, legal consultation, that kind of thing." "I appreciate that." He hesitated, then said, "Also, we keep a furnished corporate apartment for visiting clients from our West Coast office. It's empty for the next 3 months. If you need a place to stay short-term, the rent's minimal. $500 a month, utilities included." I stared at him. "Are you serious? You're a valuable member of this team. Consider it an investment in your well-being." I wanted to hug him but settled for a professional thank you. 2 days later, I moved into a small but clean one-bedroom apartment with functioning heat and a kitchen that was mine alone. For the first time in 3 years, I had privacy, space, quiet. I unpacked my boxes and felt something shift in my chest. This was temporary, but it was mine. That night, sitting on the couch in my own space, I finally let myself listen to one of the voicemails from my father. His voice was sharp with anger. "How dare you threaten us with lawyers? After everything we've done for you, you lived in our house. We could have charged you, market rate. Amber is devastated, absolutely devastated by your cruelty. She had to see a therapist because of the emotional damage you caused. Those sessions cost us $200 each, and frankly, we think you should pay us back. You've caused this family nothing but pain. Call us immediately and apologize, or I swear to God, Callie, you'll regret this." I listened to it twice, heard the rage, the manipulation, the complete lack of self-awareness. Then I saw I had 17 missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize and a flood of Facebook messages. I opened Facebook and felt my stomach drop. My family had started a GoFundMe. The title read, "Help Amber Recover from Family Trauma." The description was 3 paragraphs of lies. According to the page, I'd been verbally and emotionally abusive to my younger sister for years. I'd stolen money from the family, refused to contribute to household expenses, and then abandoned them on Christmas, leaving them financially devastated. Amber was now in therapy for the trauma I'd caused, and they were raising money for her treatment and recovery. It had raised $3,200. The comments were filled with people I'd gone to high school with, distant relatives, family, friends, all of them expressing sympathy and shock. Several people had tagged me, asking if the story was true. My Aunt Carol, my mother's sister, had written, "I always knew Callie was selfish, but this is absolutely disgusting. Poor, sweet Amber." My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. They were destroying my reputation. Publicly. Systematically. I took screenshots of everything and forwarded them to Patricia. Then I sat in the dark apartment and tried to figure out how my life had become this. The GoFundMe haunted me. I checked it obsessively, watching the comments multiply. Seeing people I'd once been friendly with condemn me based on complete fabrications. Someone from my high school debate team wrote that she'd always thought there was something off about me. A former coworker from my coffee shop days said she wasn't surprised, that I'd always seemed cold. Jenny found me staring at my phone at work, my coffee going cold beside me. "You're reading it again." Mrs. Patterson from church donated $50. She taught my Sunday school class. She wrote that she's praying for Amber's recovery and my repentance. Jenny gently took my phone away. "Stop torturing yourself. What do I do? If I respond, I look defensive. If I stay silent, everyone believes it. You tell the truth. On your terms." But I felt paralyzed. The version of me they'd created, this cruel, abusive monster, felt impossible to fight against. How do you prove you're not something? How do you defend yourself against emotions and perceptions? Patricia called that afternoon. "I've seen the GoFundMe. This is actually helpful for our case. It's a public admission that they're spreading false information about you, which could constitute defamation. But Callie, I want to warn you, this is going to get worse before it gets better." She was right. Over the next week, the attacks intensified. Someone created a fake profile pretending to be one of my former roommates, posting long stories about how difficult I'd been to live with. Amber posted a tearful video on TikTok talking about growing up with an abusive older sister who resented her happiness. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating much, just worked, went to therapy, and tried to understand how the people who were supposed to love me could be doing this. Then I got a LinkedIn message from someone I barely knew. "Hi, Callie. This is Raymond Thompson. I'm your uncle, your dad's younger brother. I know we've never really talked, but I need to speak with you. It's important. Please call me." I stared at the message. Uncle Raymond. I had vague memories of him from early childhood, before he'd stopped coming to family events. My father never talked about him, and when I'd asked as a teenager, my mother had said Raymond was troubled and they were estranged. I called the number he'd provided, Callie. His voice was warm, relieved. "Thank you for calling me back. I know this is strange, but I've been following what's happening. A mutual friend sent me the GoFundMe, and I recognized the pattern immediately." "What pattern? Can we meet?" "I'd rather explain in person. We met at a coffee shop halfway between our locations. Uncle Raymond was in his mid-50s, with gray threading through dark hair and eyes that looked like my father's but kinder somehow. He ordered us both coffee and then sat down heavily. "I need to tell you a story, and it's not going to be easy to hear. But you need to know you're not alone in this, and you're not crazy. Okay, when my parents, your grandparents were in their 80s, I was living across the country. Your dad was here, close by, visiting them regularly. They developed dementia, both of them, within a year of each other. Your dad convinced them to make him power of attorney, told them it would make things easier." Raymond's jaw tightened. "When they died, they'd supposedly left everything to your dad. The house, the savings, everything. I got $5,000. Your dad got an estate worth nearly $400,000. I felt cold, but they wouldn't have done that. They loved you. They wouldn't have, and they didn't. Your dad manipulated them while they were declining, changed documents, probably forged signatures. I tried to challenge it legally, but I was broke, living paycheck to paycheck, couldn't afford a real lawyer. Your dad lawyered up immediately, and it would have cost me everything I had to fight it. What did you do? I walked away. And your dad made sure everyone in the family knew that I was bitter, greedy, trying to steal from my own parents' memory. He ran a smear campaign just like the one they're running on you now. For 15 years, I've been the family villain. My coffee sat untouched, going cold. Callie, your father is a narcissist. Your mother enables him. They picked Amber to be the golden child, the extension of their egos, and they picked you to be the scapegoat, the one who carries the blame and the burden. This is what they do. When you stop playing your assigned role, they destroy you. Why are you telling me this now? Because you don't have to go through what I went through. I walked away with nothing because I had nothing. But you have documentation. You have a clear case, and you have the chance to get actual justice. He leaned forward. I've spent 15 years rebuilding my life. I own a construction business now. I'm successful. I'm happy. But I've always regretted not fighting harder. He pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. This is my lawyer. He's expensive, but he's the best in the state at family trust litigation. He helped me with some contract disputes, kept my business alive when I was starting out. I've already talked to him about your case. Uncle Raymond, I can't afford an expensive lawyer. I'll pay for it. I stared at him. What? Let me do this. Not just for you. For me too. Let me help someone in this family actually get justice for once. Your grandmother would have wanted you to have that money. Let's make sure you get it. I felt tears burning in my eyes. Why would you do this? You barely know me. Because you're family. Real family. Not the toxic mess your parents created, but actual blood family who deserve support. And because nobody should have to go through what they're putting you through alone. I met with Raymond's lawyer, Marcus Webb, the next day. He was sharp, experienced, and angry on my behalf after reading through all my documentation. This is one of the clearest cases of trust fund misappropriation I've seen. Combined with the identity theft, the public defamation campaign, and the financial abuse, we can make a case for significant damages. I'd estimate we're looking at recovering the original trust amount, plus interest, plus compensation for identity theft, plus punitive damages. We could be talking about $100,000 or more. My head spun. 100,000? They hurt you deliberately and systematically. That has a cost. 3 months passed in a blur of legal paperwork, therapy sessions, and slowly rebuilding my life. Marcus filed the lawsuit in early March. My parents were served with papers at home on a Tuesday morning, detailing charges of trust fund misappropriation, breach of fiduciary duty, identity theft, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Patricia had warned me they'd retaliate. I wasn't prepared for how vicious it would be. 2 days after being served, my mother showed up at my workplace. I was in a conference room reviewing quarterly reports with Martin and 2 other team members when the receptionist called. Callie, there's a woman in the lobby demanding to see you. She says she's your mother and it's an emergency. My stomach dropped. Tell her I'm in a meeting and can't be disturbed. I tried. She's making a scene. Martin looked at me with concern. Go handle it. We'll wait. I walked to the lobby and found my mother in tears, her voice raised, drawing attention from everyone in the waiting area. How could you do this to us? We're your parents. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. And this is how you repay us? By suing us? Mom, you need to leave. I'm not leaving until you drop this ridiculous lawsuit. Do you know what you're doing to this family? Your sister can't sleep. Your father had to take blood pressure medication. You're killing us, Callie. The receptionist had already called building security. 2 guards appeared within a minute. Ma'am, "You need to leave the premises." My mother turned her tears on them. "I'm trying to talk to my daughter. She's destroying our family." They escorted her out while she cried loudly about ungrateful children and broken hearts. I stood there, mortified, aware of every eye in the lobby watching me. Martin appeared beside me. "Take the rest of the day. Go home." But it didn't stop there. Over the next 2 weeks, Amber launched a TikTok series titled, "My Abusive Sister is Suing Our Parents for Giving Her Independence." Each video was a tearful monologue about growing up afraid of me, about how I'd always been jealous and cruel, about how our parents had sacrificed everything to raise us and now I was attacking them. The first video got 20,000 views. By the third video, she had 40,000 followers. The comments were brutal. Strangers from across the country were calling me a monster, telling me to leave my poor family alone, saying I should be ashamed of myself. I showed Dr. Walsh during our next session. She watched one video, her expression carefully neutral. "How does this make you feel?" "Like I'm going insane. She's lying. All of it is lies." But thousands of people believe her. That's because they don't have the full story. They're seeing a performance designed to manipulate emotion. But Callie, the people who matter, who actually know you, they know the truth. She was right. Jenny never wavered. Martin told me the workplace incident didn't reflect on me at all. Uncle Raymond called weekly to check in. Meanwhile, Marcus was building our case. The legal discovery process began, which meant my parents had to turn over all financial records from the past 15 years. Every bank statement, every credit card bill, every tax return. What we found was explosive. Marcus called me into his office, documents spread across his conference table. "Callie, your parents are in serious financial trouble. They've refinanced their house 3 separate times in 15 years. They currently owe more on it than it's worth. They have $73,000 in credit card debt across 12 cards. Their retirement accounts have less than $30,000 combined, and they're both in their mid-50s. I stared at the papers. How is that possible? They've been living well beyond their means for decades. Look at these expense reports. Luxury vacations every year. A boat they bought and sold within 2 years. Private school tuition for Amber. Your dad bought a motorcycle he kept for 8 months. They're drowning. So the money they said they didn't have for my college, they had it. They spent it on other things. And when your grandmother left you that trust fund, they saw it as a life raft." Marcus pulled out another document. But this is the really damaging evidence. It was a printout of emails between my parents, dated from when I was 17 years old, a full year before I graduated high school. My mother had written, "We need to think carefully about college for both girls. If we give Callie too much support, she'll become independent and move away. We need to make sure she stays obligated to us. When we're older, we'll need someone to take care of us, and Amber will never be capable of that. We need Callie to feel like she owes us." My father's response: "Agreed. Community college for Callie. Tell her it's about finances. We can save the college fund for Amber. Keep Callie close and dependent." Another email from my mother, 2 years later, after my grandmother died. "The trust fund from your mom has Callie's name on it, but legally we can use it as trustees for educational purposes. If we put it toward Amber's school, Callie never needs to know it existed. It's perfect." I couldn't breathe. I read the emails 3 times, each word sinking deeper. "They planned this," I whispered. "They planned to keep me trapped from the beginning." They did. And these emails prove intentionality, which significantly strengthens our case for punitive damages. This wasn't just negligence or poor judgment. This was calculated financial abuse designed to control you. I walked out of Marcus's office in a daze, drove back to my apartment, sat on the couch and stared at the wall. My entire childhood had been a lie. Every time they'd told me I was independent, that I didn't need help, that I was so capable, it had been manipulation. A long-term strategy to make sure I stayed close enough to take care of them while giving everything to Amber. I called Dr. Walsh outside of our regular session time. She picked up immediately. "Callie? What's wrong?" They planned it. All of it. There are emails. They decided when I was 17 that they were going to keep me dependent and obligated so I'd take care of them when they got old. There was a long pause. Where are you right now? Home. I'm okay. I just needed to tell someone. That's a devastating thing to learn. How are you feeling? Honestly, relieved. Because now I know I'm not crazy. This wasn't in my head. They really did treat me differently on purpose. And it wasn't because of anything I did or didn't do. It was their plan from the start. That's a very healthy way to process this. Yes, the truth is painful. But it also validates everything you've been feeling. That night, I allowed myself to grieve. Not for the relationship I'd lost with my parents, but for the relationship I'd never actually had. The loving, supportive parents I'd imagined existed somewhere underneath the dysfunction had never been real. But I was real. My strength was real. My success was real. And I was going to make sure they faced consequences for what they'd done. Marcus presented the email evidence to my parents' lawyer in mid-April. Their attorney, a tired-looking man named Douglas Brenner, called Marcus within 2 hours. My clients want to discuss settlement. Marcus put the call on speaker so I could hear. Settlement terms? Marcus asked. $10,000. Full confidentiality agreement. All parties sign an NDA, and Mrs. Thompson agrees to drop all charges and never discuss this matter publicly. I shook my head. Marcus saw it. That's insulting, Marcus said flatly. Your client stole $25,000 in trust funds, committed identity theft that damaged my client's credit for years, engaged in financial elder abuse of the grandmother who established the trust, and ran a public defamation campaign. $10,000 doesn't begin to cover actual damages, let alone punitive damages. They don't have more. They're living on a fixed income. They bought a new car 6 months ago. Try again. Silence on the line. Then, I'll talk to my clients. The next offer came a week later. $35,000 and an apology letter if I signed an NDA. I met with Marcus and Uncle Raymond in Marcus's office. What do you think? I asked Raymond. I think they want to buy your silence so they can keep playing victims. I think an NDA protects them, not you. He leaned forward. When I walked away, I stayed silent, and they controlled the narrative for 15 years. Don't make my mistake. Marcus nodded. We have a strong case. If we go to trial, we're likely looking at a judgment of $60,000 or more plus legal fees. But trials take time and emotional energy. What happens to the GoFundMe if we go public with the evidence? I asked. It'll get shut down for fraud. They could potentially face criminal charges for soliciting donations based on false pretenses. I thought about all the people who'd donated, who'd believed my family's lies. I thought about Mrs. Patterson from church, about my high school friends, about everyone who'd condemned me without hearing my side. I don't want their NDA, I said. I want accountability. I want the truth to be public. Marcus smiled. Then let's make that happen. We rejected the settlement offer. Marcus filed a motion to include the email evidence in the public court record, and I sat down and wrote out my entire story in a detailed Facebook post. I included screenshots of the trust fund documents showing my grandmother's intention. I included my rent payment records showing $30,000 over 3 years. I included the utility bills. I included the emails between my parents planning to keep me financially dependent. I included documentation of the credit cards they'd opened in my name. I didn't include everything Marcus had. I held back the most damaging financial details on his advice, but I included enough to make the truth clear. I ended the post with, I'm not sharing this for sympathy or revenge. I'm sharing it because staying silent protects abusers and harms victims. If you donated to my family's GoFundMe, I'm sorry you were lied to. I hope this provides clarity. I've chosen to pursue legal action not out of cruelty, but because what they did was illegal and accountability matters. I posted it at 9 p.m. on a Thursday night and then turned off my phone. When I turned it back on the next morning, I had 382 notifications. The post had been shared 200 times. The comments were completely different from before. Person after person was apologizing, expressing shock, saying they'd had no idea. Several people shared their own stories of family financial abuse. Mrs. Patterson from church wrote, "Callie, I am so deeply sorry. I should never have judged without knowing the full story. Please forgive me." My Aunt Carol sent a private message. "I don't even know what to say. I'm horrified. Your mother told us such a different story. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. So sorry." High school friends were reaching out, offering support. Someone had reported the GoFundMe to the platform, and it was taken down within hours for violating their terms of service against fraud. Amber's TikTok videos started getting flooded with comments calling her out. People who'd seen my post were commenting with the evidence, asking her to address the trust fund theft, asking about the credit card fraud. She deleted her account entirely by that afternoon. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Callie?" "It's Amber." Her voice was small, scared. Nothing like the confident, tearful victim she'd played on TikTok. "What do you want?" "I need to talk to you. Please, in person." Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet her at a neutral location, a park halfway between us. Uncle Raymond insisted on coming with me, staying visible but out of earshot in case I needed support. Amber looked terrible. Her eyes were red and puffy, her hair unwashed, still in the same clothes from her profile picture from 2 days ago. She sat down on the bench beside me and started crying immediately. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear to God, Callie, I didn't know about the trust fund or the credit cards or any of it. But you knew they treated us differently. I thought they just loved me more." Her voice broke. "I thought I was special. I didn't realize what they were doing to you. You made those TikTok videos. You ran that GoFundMe. You called me abusive in front of thousands of people. Mom told me you were trying to destroy the family for no reason. She showed me the lawsuit papers and said you were being cruel and vindictive. She said I needed to help defend them because you were lying about everything." Amber wiped at her face. "I believed her because she's our mother, and I didn't think she would lie to me about something like that. She did lie. And you helped her without even asking for my side of the story. I know, and I'm so sorry. I saw your post, and I looked at the documents you shared, and I realized everything I've believed about our family is wrong." She turned to face me fully. "Callie, I need to tell you something, and you're probably going to hate me even more after." "What?" "Mom and Dad promised me things. A big wedding, they said they'd pay for everything. A down payment on a house with my fiancé, they said $50,000. College funds for my future kids. They've been promising me all this stuff for years, and I built my whole life plan around it. Okay? I just found out there's no money. None of it. There's $73,000 in debt. The house is underwater. There's no retirement savings. Everything they promised me is a fantasy." She started crying harder. "My fiancé comes from a wealthy family. His parents expect us both to contribute equally to our life together. When they found out I don't have any money, any savings, any real job skills, they told him to reconsider the engagement. He's having doubts now. He says he didn't realize I was so financially irresponsible." I felt a complicated mix of sympathy and vindication. "Amber, I'm sorry, but what do you want from me?" "I don't know. Help? Advice? I don't know how to do anything. I've never had to work a real job for more than a few months. I don't have a degree. I don't have savings. Mom and Dad always said they'd take care of everything, so I never learned to take care of myself." She looked at me with desperate eyes. "You figured it out. You put yourself through college and paid off loans and have a real career. How did you do it?" And in that moment, I understood what Dr. Walsh had been trying to tell me. Being the scapegoat had hurt immensely, but it had also made me strong. Being denied support had forced me to build my own foundation. The very things that had felt like punishment had actually been survival skills. Amber, the golden child, had been given everything except the ability to stand on her own. I did it because I had to, I said quietly. Because nobody was going to save me, so I saved myself. Can you teach me how to do that? I looked at my little sister who I'd once loved so fiercely, who I'd been so jealous of, who I'd resented for years. She was 24 years old and completely unprepared for adult life because our parents had failed her just as much as they'd failed me, just in a different way. I can help you, I said slowly, but you need to understand something. You have to want to change. You have to be willing to work hard, start at the bottom, struggle sometimes. You have to stop expecting other people to fix things for you. I want to. I'm so tired of feeling helpless, and you need to make things right. The people you hurt with those videos and that GoFundMe, you need to apologize publicly. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I will. I'll do whatever it takes. I didn't trust her completely, not yet. But I could see that she was genuinely scared, genuinely lost. And maybe, if we both did the work, we could eventually be real sisters instead of puppets in our parents' dysfunction. Okay, I said. Here's what we're going to do. The legal case wrapped up in early June. My parents, faced with overwhelming evidence and mounting legal fees they couldn't afford, agreed to a comprehensive settlement. They would pay me $62,800, which included the original $25,000 trust fund, with 12 years of compound interest. The $6,000 in credit card fraud that had destroyed my early credit, $9,600, representing 1 year of rent payments returned, and legal fees. The settlement also required them to write a formal letter of apology, admitting their wrongdoing, which became part of the public court record. Additionally, they were court-ordered to attend financial counseling for 1 year and family therapy, though I wasn't required to participate in the therapy sessions. Most importantly, there was no confidentiality agreement. I retained full rights to tell my story however I chose. Marcus called me with the news on a Friday afternoon. It's over. You won. I sat down on my couch, the weight of 8 months of legal battle suddenly lifting from my shoulders. It's really over? The check will be processed within 2 weeks. Your parents have 30 days to provide the written apology. It's done, Callie. After I hung up, I called Uncle Raymond. He was at a construction site, and I could hear power tools in the background when he answered. We won, I said. That's my girl. His voice was full of pride. I'm taking you out to celebrate. Best steakhouse in the city. You pick the night. Uncle Raymond, thank you for everything. I couldn't have done this without you. That's what family does. Real family. The apology letter arrived 3 weeks later, delivered by their lawyer's office. It was typed, formal, and probably written by Douglas Brenner more than my parents themselves, but it acknowledged the trust fund misappropriation, the unequal treatment, the financial abuse. It stated that they understood their actions had caused significant harm and violated their duty as parents and trustees. It wasn't the heartfelt, emotional apology I might have wanted as a daughter, but as a legal document, it was accountability, and that mattered. My mother reached out separately a week after that, sending a handwritten letter to my apartment address, which she must have gotten from court documents. The letter was 6 pages long. In it, she detailed her own childhood with a narcissistic mother, the patterns she'd unconsciously repeated, the ways she'd let my father's behavior go unchallenged because confrontation terrified her. She didn't make excuses, but she provided context. She was in therapy, she wrote, real therapy with a trauma specialist, working through decades of dysfunction. I don't expect you to forgive me, she wrote in closing. I don't even know if I can forgive myself. But I want you to know that I see what I did now. I see how badly I failed you. And I'm trying to become someone who deserves a relationship with you, even if that takes the rest of my life. I love you, Callie. I always have, even when I showed it in the most terrible ways imaginable. If you're ever willing to talk, I'll be here. I read the letter 3 times, took it to my therapy session with Dr. Walsh. What do you think? I asked her. What do you think? How does it make you feel? Sad, hopeful, scared, all of it at once. I folded the letter carefully. I think she means it. I think she's actually trying to change, but I don't know if I'm ready to let her back in. You don't have to decide right now. Healing isn't linear, and rebuilding trust takes time. It's okay to move slowly. I sat with it for 2 months. Then, in late August, I sent my mother an email suggesting we meet for lunch, just the two of us, in a public place, with clear boundaries. She responded within an hour. I would love that more than anything. Thank you for giving me a chance. We met at a small cafe downtown on a Saturday afternoon. My mother looked older than I remembered, more tired, but also somehow lighter, less performative. We started carefully, talking about neutral things, her garden, my job, the weather. Slowly, we worked our way into harder territory. I'm learning that I was raised by a narcissist, my mother said quietly. My therapist has helped me see that I spent my whole life trying to earn my own mother's love by being perfect, and when I couldn't, I created this dynamic with you and Amber where I could control who got approval. It was sick. I was sick. Are you still with Dad? She hesitated. We're separated, living in the same house, but in different rooms, until we can figure out finances. He refuses to believe he did anything wrong. He thinks the court was biased, that you manipulated everyone, that he's the victim in all this. She looked at me with tired eyes. I can't do it anymore, Callie. I can't enable him. My therapist says I have to choose recovery over comfort, and staying with him isn't recovery. I'm sorry. That must be really hard. It is. But it's also the first honest thing I've done in decades. She reached across the table, then pulled her hand back, uncertain. Can I ask you something? Okay. Do you think someday you might be able to forgive me? I considered the question carefully. I don't know. Maybe. I think I can work toward a relationship with you if you keep doing the work you're doing, but forgiveness is complicated. Some things change us permanently. I understand. That's fair. We met once a month after that. Slowly, carefully, building something new. Not the mother-daughter relationship we'd never had, but something more honest. She started respecting my boundaries, asking before offering advice, taking accountability when she slipped into old patterns. My father, I saw only once more. He called me in October, demanding I drop the legal case even though it was already settled, insisting I'd ruined the family and owed him an apology. I listened for 5 minutes, then said, I hope someday you get the help you need, and ended the call. I didn't block his number, but I didn't engage either. Some people aren't capable of change, and that's not my responsibility to fix. Amber, surprisingly, became something like a real sister. She got a job as a receptionist at a dental office through a contact I provided. It wasn't glamorous, and the pay was modest, but she showed up every day. She moved into a small apartment with 2 roommates, learning to budget for the first time in her life. Her engagement ended, which devastated her, but she handled it with more maturity than I'd expected. He wanted someone who already had everything figured out, she told me over coffee. I need time to figure myself out first. She apologized publicly on social media, posting a video admitting she'd spread false information about me without having all the facts. She didn't go into detail, but she took clear accountability. Some people forgave her. Others didn't. She learned to live with that. We had dinner together every few weeks. Sometimes it was easy, sometimes it was tense, but it was real. We were learning to be sisters, as adults, building something from scratch. Uncle Raymond became one of my closest family members. We had dinner every Sunday, and he introduced me to his wife and kids, who welcomed me warmly. I'd missed out on knowing them for years because of my parents' lies, but we were making up for lost time. With the settlement money, I made a down payment on a small 2-bedroom townhouse just outside the city. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I painted the walls, colors I loved, bought furniture that fit my style, created a space that felt like home. At work, I got promoted to accounting manager with a significant raise. Martin told me I'd earned it through my exceptional work and grace under pressure. I built a team, mentored younger accountants, found satisfaction in work that felt meaningful. I kept seeing Dr. Walsh, working through childhood wounds and building healthier patterns. I learned to recognize narcissistic behavior, to set boundaries, to advocate for myself without guilt. In September, Uncle Raymond introduced me to Aaron, his business partner's nephew. Aaron was a civil engineer, quiet and thoughtful, with a dry sense of humor that surprised me into laughing. We started dating slowly, both of us careful with trust, both of us carrying family baggage. He treated me like an equal partner, split checks without being asked, respected when I said I needed space, showed up when he said he would. Small things that felt revolutionary after a lifetime of conditional love. "You're not used to being treated well," he observed one evening, as we cooked dinner together in my kitchen. "I'm learning," I said. "Good. Keep learning. You deserve this." By December, exactly 1 year after the piggy bank Christmas that had changed everything, I was hosting my first holiday dinner in my own home. I invited Uncle Raymond and his family, Jenny and her girlfriend Martin and his wife Erin, my mother, and after a long conversation with my therapist Amber. My dining room was small, so we crowded around the table, elbow to elbow, passing dishes and talking over each other. It was chaotic and warm and nothing like the tense, performative Christmases of my childhood. Before we ate, my mother stood up, her hand shaking slightly as she raised her glass. "I want to say something. Callie, thank you for letting me be here. Thank you for giving me the chance to be part of your life after everything I did to hurt you. This past year has been the hardest of my life, but also the most honest. You've taught me that real love isn't about control or obligation. It's about respect and choice." Her voice cracked. "I'm so proud of who you are. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." I raised my glass. "Thank you for doing the work." We toasted, and I felt something settle in my chest. Not complete healing. There were still scars and tender places, but peace. Genuine peace. After dinner, Amber pulled me aside while others were having coffee in the living room. She handed me a small wrapped box. "I got you something. It's not much, but I wanted you to have it." I opened it carefully. Inside was a framed photo I'd never seen before. Me at my college graduation from State University, holding my diploma, beaming with pride despite everything I'd been through to get there. Amber must have taken it from some old family photo box. "I found this when I was helping Mom pack up some stuff from the house. You look so happy, so strong." Amber's eyes were bright. "I want to be like that. Like you." "You're getting there," I said. "One day at a time." Before everyone left, I went to my bookshelf and picked up the ceramic piggy bank. It sat there still, but I'd filled it completely over the past year. $1 at a time, whenever I felt strong or proud or grateful. Whenever I made a good decision or set a healthy boundary, or chose myself. I counted it that night after everyone had gone home. $365. One for each day of rebuilding my life from the ground up. I sat on my couch, looking around at my home, at the life I'd built with my own hands and determination. I thought about everything I'd learned over this painful, transformative year. Favoritism in families isn't actually favor. It's poison for everyone involved. The golden child gets attention, but no tools for real life. The scapegoat gets pain, but develops resilience, skills, and authentic self-worth. Real love equips you for independence. False love keeps you dependent. Money in families reveals character. When parents use money as control, they're not protecting you, they're imprisoning you. And when you finally break free, you discover who you actually are underneath all their projections. Walking away from family isn't failure. Sometimes it's the healthiest, bravest choice you can make. And sometimes walking away is what finally makes real relationship possible because you're no longer accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. You cannot control how people treat you, but you can control whether you stay in situations that diminish you. That choice, that power, belongs to you alone. The best revenge isn't cruelty. It's building a life so genuinely fulfilling that their approval becomes irrelevant. It's becoming so completely yourself that their version of you can't touch the truth of who you are. And sometimes the greatest gift is the one you give yourself. Permission to want more, to expect better, to know deep in your bones that you deserve equity and respect and love that doesn't come with conditions. That ceramic piggy bank with $1 taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. My worth was never determined by what they gave me or withheld from me. My worth was never measured by their love, or their money, or their approval. My worth was determined by what I built for myself when they left me with nothing, by the character I developed when nobody was watching, by the choices I made when the easy path would have been to accept less than I deserved. I stood up and walked to my kitchen window, looking out at the first snow of the season falling softly in the darkness. My kitchen, my window, my view, my life. For the first time in 28 years, I felt completely at home in my own skin. I was enough. I always had been. I just finally knew it. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own well-being? Have you ever felt like the scapegoat in your own family, or watched someone else be treated unfairly while staying silent? What would you have done in my situation? Would you have stayed and kept the peace, or would you have fought back? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your story matters, and you never know who might need to hear that they're not alone in their struggle. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more real stories about overcoming family dysfunction, finding your worth, and building the life you deserve. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it, someone who's struggling to set boundaries or find their voice in a difficult family situation. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you're stronger than you know, that your worth isn't determined by how others treat you, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself. Take care of yourselves out there. You deserve love that lifts you up, not love that holds you down. Remember that, always.